And this is literally the worst element in the entire game. Don't use this. Hey guys, it's me, Tantacles, here with another tier list, this time the Chrono Cross Black Element tier list. I'm ranking all the black elements in order of their value. If you'd be so kind, please like the video and subscribe to my channel if you want more Chrono Cross content. The remaster's coming soon. So let's jump right into it. We'll start with the attack elements. Gravity Blow is first, and it's the level 1 attack element. Now, black is kind of a weird element because the level 2, 3, and 4 elements are not single target. This makes Gravity Blow a lot more valuable than the level 1 elements in other colors. I'm going to place it into the B tier. I generally end up allocating Gravity Blow up rather than using Gravitone, which we'll talk about now, because why not? Gravitone is going to go into the C tier. It attacks all enemies, but at the same level of Gravity Blow, it'll do less damage to a single target, and since a lot of the bosses are single target, Gravity Blow becomes much more useful. So Hell Soul is an instant death spell, just kills the enemy, however, it has a high chance of missing. I've had very little luck with it, and I'm going to put it into the C tier. Hellbound is level 4, same idea. Oddly, it has the effect of not allowing enemies to be revived, but enemies don't revive each other from what I've seen. Now, it has the same effect as Hell Soul, but I'm going to put it into the D tier because it's level 4, and those level 4 element spots are very valuable. I don't want to waste my level 4 element slots on Hellbound, which doesn't hit bosses and has a high chance of missing as well. And now we get to the elements that I actually care about. Free Fall is first, and that's going to go into the S tier. It is a single target level 5 attack spell. It's available very early in the game. You can trap it from Bunyip at Fort Dragonia. While I'm not going to put Black Hole below it, I do think that in certain situations it is more useful than Black Hole, particularly on bosses where it's single target damage. Black Hole is also very available. You can trap it from, how do I pronounce this? Tragedians? I don't know, whatever. Although that's a little bit later in the game. The limitation of Black Hole, of course, is that it can only be allocated to black innate characters. Now, one thing that I haven't tested is looking at Free Fall and Black Hole at the same level, and I'm interested to see if against a single target, Black Hole does more damage than Free Fall or vice versa. I'll be getting some footage and putting out another video soon that talks about that, but for now, they're both in the S tier anyway, so who cares? If you have a black innate character, you're probably going to end up putting all your Black Holes on them anyway and then using your Free Fall on your non-black innate characters. Very unusual to have more than one black innate character on the team. Similarly, Free Fall and Black Hole traps are S tier. They're extremely reliable ways of getting these spells, and of course, Free Fall from the Bunyip can destroy you. So it's much better to trap it, get the element, not deal with it. Mothership is next, and that's the level 7 summoning element. Of course, it can be allocated down to level 5 as well, because it's the level 7 element, not the 8 element, and it's going to go into the A tier. The reason it goes into A tier instead of S is it can only be allocated to black innate characters, and you have to have the entire field black to use it. Now, this presents some problems because unlike red, blue, yellow, and green, there's no field element. I'll talk about those in future element tier lists, but a field element basically changes the entire field to that color. In this case, you have to manually change the entire field to black to use Mothership. It makes it a little bit less convenient. However, in order to make rainbow equipment, you pretty much have to use Mothership. You can also trap it from an enemy that isn't incredibly difficult to fight, so it's very worth it. Because you need Mothership so badly to get rainbow equipment, Mothership Trap is going to go into the A tier as well. Next up is Grim Reaper, and that's the level 8 summon element. Unfortunately, most of the level 8 spells are garbage. It's going to go into the D tier. I love the animations, but the problem specifically with black is, again, you don't have a black field element. So in many cases, you'll have to cast 3 black elements consecutively and then cast Grim Reaper, but because it can only be allocated to level 8, you're going to have to recharge your elemental level to cast it. Often that gives the enemy an opening to use an element and just ruin everything. Mothership is a lot more reliable. You can just cast, and then use. Just use Mothership instead of Grim Reaper. Next up are the consumable elements. Nostrum is first, and it's a level 6 healing consumable. It heals 200 HP, although in the game it just says large, which is silly because it literally always heals 200 HP. And because it's level 6, it's going to go into the D tier. There are so many better healing options than Nostrum, and they gave it no extra effects, so I can't support putting this in level 6 and wasting that slot. Literally anything else could go in level 6 and be better. Blackout is a level 2 element that removes black status effects, but I don't know, man, just use Panacea. You don't need this. It's D tier. Don't buy these. The only reason I could see you potentially using this is to change the field element quickly, but honestly, you could just use a level 1 element. Why use this? I'm not sure why this element exists when you have Purify and Panacea. Next up is Turn Black, and Turn Black goes into the A tier. Surge is in your party for so much of the game, and when you use Turn Black, it changes your enemy's element to black. What that means is that Surge is going to hit harder with his techs and elements, and he hits really hard. Turn Black makes it absolutely trivial to kill things quickly with Surge. Absolutely recommend. I'm actually going to put it above Mothership, because really you don't need the rainbow equipment. You can go through the entire game with Denadorite equipment and be just fine. Anti-White is a level 3 element equipable only by black innate characters, and it prevents an enemy from using all white elements. This goes into the bottom of the C tier. It can be used occasionally, but I've literally never had it work on a boss. And bosses are the ones that you want to prevent from using white elements. So I think you're better off just doing damage than using this element, especially on a black innate character who has better things to do with their element slots than put this there. Now, Diminish is an interesting element. Diminish halves all element damage for a fixed period of time. It's level 6, and so of course it can be junctioned down to level 4. And I'm gonna put it into the B tier. I can envision some great strategies where you use Diminish and then just wail on the enemy with physical attacks. That could work well in many fights, especially in fights where the enemy has strong elements. That being said, I don't think you really need it. Most enemies can't one-shot you, which is the only real reason this comes into play, and you can heal up pretty easily with your healing elements. However, this could be useful if you want to use Lynx as just a physical attacker, especially against a white element character like Miguel. Genius is next, and it's going to go into the top of the B tier. Genius increases your magical power, so you'll do more damage. However, I think Weak-Minded is a lot more useful, especially on bosses when it hits, because it will impact the damage of all of your party members' elements, not just the one person you cast it on. That being said, the one thing about Genius that's useful is that it can't miss when you cast it on your own party members, so I can see in a boss fight, if you wanted to make sure that Weak-Minded doesn't miss, using Genius instead to beef up your best magical attacker. You also could of course use it in conjunction with Weak-Minded on an enemy, but I'd actually rather use Magnify if I'm going to do that strategy. Next up is Imbecile, which decreases magic power and of course has a chance to miss. That's going to go at the bottom of the C tier. Generally, you're better off increasing your own damage than you are diminishing the enemy's damage. Generally, you're better off increasing your own damage than decreasing the enemy's damage. Getting through the battle quickly is the best way to avoid not getting party wiped, particularly with the limited availability of revival items. And of course, an element like Imbecile will wear off. So if you're not focusing on doing damage yourself, you're going to end up in the same place that you were before. Revenge is next, and it does two things. It cures your own status effects, and then it transfers them to the enemies. And this goes into the D tier for me. The only useful part of this element is that it cures your own status effects, because honestly, status effects in Chrono Cross just aren't that impactful with the exception of Freeze. Sorry if I just gave away a big spoiler from the blue element tier list, guys. You might as well just use Purify at level 0 or use a Panacea. Seal All is the final element, and it is a level 6 black innate only element that prevents everyone from using elements. Everyone, you and the enemy, which means you can't heal, you can't attack with elements, you can't use your techs. It's really bad. You want to be able to use your elements in battle, and this is literally the worst element in the entire game. Don't use this. So that's my black element tier list. If you haven't seen my white element tier list, I'm going to link that above. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel for more Chrono Cross content. The red element tier list is next, so see you in the next one. Bye bye.